Hey, what's up? I'm Jason Howell, and I've spent, it's probably been about 3 weeks at this point, a longish time because there are not one but two of them, with the ASUS ZenWatch 2. You can see I've got two models here, a larger one, which is the one that I wore the majority of the time, and then I've got a smaller one here, which I did wear, although it's marketed more for women. It's a smaller footprint, so it's meant to look good on smaller wrists, essentially. The smaller one is a 1.45-inch version. It has a 300 milliamp hour battery underneath, and the larger one is 1.63 inches with a 400 milliamp hour battery underneath, and both are running around $149.99. You can find them online at the Google Play Store, all across the board. Let's take a look at the specs to start off with here. Both are running the 1.2 gigahertz Snapdragon 400 processor with 512 megs of RAM. 4 gigs of onboard storage. If you want to store media or whatever, your music, and have it synced to a Bluetooth headset, you can do that. That's what the storage is there for, as well as installing apps and stuff. They are water resistant, rated at IP67. So if you're washing your dishes, you don't have to take the wash off. You can leave it on there and it's going to resist the water. No heart rate monitor underneath, and that is one of the omissions of the ASUS ZenWatch 2. So if that means something to you, that's something to consider. Of course, it's $149.99, so a $150 watch, whereas others are, probably more hitting around $200, $250 and upwards. So this is a lower cost watch, meant more, I'd say, for people who are interested in getting involved in the Android Wear ecosystem and, don't want to spend a lot of money. And they come in 3 different color options: black, kind of gunmetal black, a silverish, and a gold color. So first of all, the design. First, we'll take a look at the smaller one here. It ships, as you can see here, with a neutral colored strap. Definitely looks good on the female wrist. Florence Ion, my co-host on All About Android, actually did a full review and was very, very positive on the ZenWatch 2, mainly because there aren't a whole lot of Android Wear devices that look good on women's wrists. They're usually very large and bulky, and in this case, she loved it. She thought it looked great. She said it was regularly mistaken for an Apple Watch. As you can see, it kind of has the squarish kind of form factor with the rounded edges, and yeah, it's a little reminiscent of the Apple Watch. And yeah, although the smaller one is a little bit thicker when put up side by side with the larger one, even though it's sporting a smaller battery. Go figure. The larger one ships with I think, a pretty inflexible and kind of uncomfortable strap. Thankfully, it's easily replaceable. You can put any strap on these pretty easily, and that's a nice feature. There's also a slight curve to the screens, which feels nice when you're interacting with the device. I will say, though, and you can kind of see with both of these devices, it's all about that bezel. Man, there's a large bezel on these watches, and to my eyes, it was really hard for me to let go of. I feel like ASUS did what they could to fit the screen, to fill the extra space with kind of this shiny material underneath that's kind of reflective and interesting, I suppose. But to me, I just saw all the space that there was no display, and I just wished that more of that face was filled out by the display. I also feel like the underside doesn't necessarily match what feels like a premium look on the top half. It feels like there's a big difference between the nice look of the top, and then you flip it over, or you see it on the side on a wrist and you see that kind of dark plastic underneath. It's a minor quibble, I suppose, but it stuck out to me. I guess those kind of things bother me a little bit. There is the side button on over here on the right-hand side. It's pleasant, has nice action. Really all it does is activate the screen or turn the screen off or wake it up from theater mode if you happen to put that on when you're watching a movie. But it's a nice button to have, and it doesn't feel cheap or anything like that. The charger snaps to the pogo pins on the back with kind of a magnetic snap. So it snaps right into place. You can only fit it in one direction so that you know that you've fit it correctly. So I suppose that's good. The downside to this is that the way the charger is made, it encourages you to lay the device down on its screen when you're charging. If you lay it with the screen facing up, I've noticed sometimes the charger will become disconnected and you won't know until later. And I suppose I learned the hard way. I laid it face down, and on the smaller device version, there is a little bit of a scratch. So that makes me, at least feel the need to let you know, if you do get this watch, don't lay its screen down, even though the way the charger is set up, you might be inclined to do so. Save yourself the headache and don't do that. Overall, I think it's an equal mix of, nice and some corners cut, but they had to do that to reach the lower price. As for the display, the images are sharp. I feel like the images are very sharp. The pixel density is really nice here, and the colors are very rich. Very nice looking display on both devices. Although the smaller one, obviously it's a smaller device, but everything feels really small on the display itself. So, it might be a little too small for your eyes. You're just going to have to look at them side by side and see for yourself. And it gets really bright in the sunlight, and that's great. And of course, it has the ambient display as well, so it can kind of keep things, in a lower power mode when you're not interacting with it specifically. Performance-wise, things move smoothly. I think the Snapdragon 400 processor that's underneath is pretty standard among a lot of Android Wear devices, and it totally does the trick. That's great. I had some Bluetooth connectivity issues, and I've had a really hard time figuring out whether that's the watch or whether that's my phone. I'm not going to hold it against the ASUS ZenWatch 2. A part of me feels like it might be my phone, but it was a regular occurrence while testing this device. So I suppose keep that in mind, but I wouldn't hold it against this specifically. As for battery, top-notch battery, hands down. I never once hit the end of the day and had the battery die before I was able to get it to a charger. It really did last very well. 3 weeks straight, never killed the battery before a charge at the end of the night. So that's very great. It also has fast charge, so it can charge pretty darn quickly when you throw it on the charger and you need some extra juice. As for software, Android Wear is Android Wear. Google doesn't really allow device makers to stray too far, if at all, from the Android Wear spec. So the things that they do to, kind of help with customization is they add a lot of watch faces. And there are a lot of watch faces on the ASUS ZenWatch 2. Not necessarily saying that I like a lot of the watch faces, but there are lots of options. Some of them just felt a little too big based on the amount of space that you're given. So, but that's a personal taste thing, so you should check it out for yourself. So let's take a look at the pros of the ASUS ZenWatch 2. First of all, I think the curvy design is appealing. For a low price Wear device, it definitely has kind of a more premium look and feel to it. Battery performance is excellent. The display is super sharp, very bright. And the fact that you have the small and the large options, that's just not something that you see from all OEMs that are making Android Wear devices right now. So it's very nice to have the option. And finally, low price. $150 out the door is an excellent price for the quality of the hardware that you're getting here. The cons, that bezel, man. The bezel just screams at me every single time based on, the size of the display versus the bezel that surrounds it. So I don't know if that'll bug you as much as it does me, but there you go. The plastic underside, like I said, minor quibble, but it kind of, caught my eye from time to time. And the charging facility just kind of encourages a screen down method. Maybe that could be, revised with like a charging puck instead on the next version. Overall, I would have to say, ladies, hey, why don't you go ahead and buy the ASUS ZenWatch 2? I think it's a great option if what you want is Android Wear and you want one that isn't going to look like you have a spaceship on your wrist. As for the gentleman out there, maybe more of a try, I suppose. I liked wearing the ASUS ZenWatch 2 for the length of this review. But again, there were little things here and there that kind of bugged me. And so, if the things that bugged me don't bug you, go ahead and buy it. You really can't go wrong for $150, but if it was me, I would want to try it first. All right, there you have it. Thank you so much for watching my review of the ASUS ZenWatch 2. My name is Jason Howell. You can catch my reviews here on Before You Buy, as well as my Android show all about Android. All right, Father Robert, back to you.